Everybody, this is Stephanie, and as you know, I am a member of the regional clubs team at the Yale Alumni Association. Very happy to be back. It's been a minute. We are here today with another Yale Alumni Live, but before we get started, I do want to send a quick congratulations out to the newest members of the Yale alumni community, the class of 2021. They obviously just had a really historic graduation. We're really proud of them and pleased to be able to welcome them to the alumni community. So if you're class of 2021, congratulations and welcome to the family officially. So as you guys know, we have gone a lot of places on Yale Alumni Live. We've visited a lot of different people. We've learned from a lot of different folks about their professions, their careers, their lives. And today we're just gonna head right on over to New Haven and we are going to do a follow-up to an episode that we did back in the fall around what would have been the game, where we had my good friend Basie Gitlin join us to tell us the history of Mory's. And so today we're bringing Basie back to talk about a tradition that has been depicted in movies and in television and is really beloved by the Yale community. So if you didn't already know what I was talking about, we are going to be talking about Mory's cups today and a little bit of the lure behind them, and Basie's going to give us some facts and maybe dispel some fiction. So I'm going to bring Basie on. We're really excited for you to be here with us today. So let's see if Basie is ready. I think he is live at Mory's, which is really exciting. We'll tell you a little bit about what's been going on at Mory's lately and when you can visit them. Give Basie a second to get connected with us. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Hi, Basie.
Hello, hello.
It's great to see you again.
Great to see you, and it's great to be here at Mory's.
Yes, I see that. You are live from Mory's, which is super exciting since we haven't been able to spend too much time at Mory's this year.
I know,
but you
not
guys
enough.
But Mory's is open right now, right?
Mory's is open, and even when I got here at about 2:30, there were still lots of people finishing up lunch. So yeah, it's open and vibrant and you know, back.
One of our favorite places to be. I know I cannot wait to get back. I'm obsessed with the truffle fries. It's embarrassing how many I can probably eat in one sitting. So just told that to everybody watching. But, you know, you can't blame me. If you've had them, you know. So obviously, Basie, this is our second time on Yale Alumni Live together. So I'm grateful to you for coming back. If you guys missed it, Basie told us the history of Mory's, and you can catch that on the Yale Alumni YouTube channel if you'd like to see a little bit more. But today, Basie is going to talk to us about cups. Before we get started, though, Basie, for anybody who doesn't know you, and I know you've got a following, can you please just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your role at Mory's?
Sure. So I graduated from Yale College in 2010. These days, I am the Director of Development for Yale University Library and Yale Collections by day, but I'm also involved with lots of different Yale-affiliated things, and happily that includes Mory's. So my dad, Jay Gitlin, and I wrote a history of Mory's that was published in 2014, loosely coinciding with 100 years of Mory's being located here at 306 York Street. And have been on the board since around that time as well.
Great. So Basie, let's jump right into it. Mory's cups have been the center of celebrations at Mory's for a very long time. And right before you joined, I was saying, you know, those cups have been depicted in movies and television and are really, you know, kind of known in pop culture. So let's talk about it. Let's tell everybody a little bit about the history that we know and kind of where we're at today with the cups. So jump right in.
Absolutely. Thanks. So Mory's and cups are sort of totally intertwined and have been for a really long time. But when we say a cup and thinking about Mory's, we could be talking about several different things. We might be talking about what looks like a trophy itself, the object itself. And later on this afternoon, I'll show you a couple of really amazing examples that I've never spent so much time up close and personal with until preparing for this. So you might be talking about the object itself, which many of us have had experiences drinking various things from over time. You might be talking about that drink, which is traditionally a sparkling wine-based, almost like a punch, that is served in this vessel. Or you might be talking about the Mory's Cup, which is an award affiliated with Mory's that celebrates conspicuous service to Yale. And I'll actually show you a little bit later an example of the very first Mory's Cup that was awarded in 1928. So cups themselves are sort of part of 19th century lore. They're part of university life. They're part of athletic life. They are created for commemorative special occasions. And it's very much in that tradition that Mory's Cups emerge. It was sort of a common thing in the late 19th century if you were celebrating an occasion or celebrating someone to engrave a cup and present it to them. If you won an athletic contest in the early days of intercollegiate sport, you would get a cup or a trophy that sort of looks like this. So it was a much more common visual trope, I think, in the late 19th century than it is today. So it's that tradition that they emerge from. One of the most well-known cups that's available at Mory's, but also has an interesting history, is the Velvet Cup, or Black Velvet, which I believe at least comes from from Queen Victoria in mourning in 1861. And so this, even the champagne is in mourning by mixing porter in with it to have this sort of dark and light, slightly effervescent combination. And so the Velvet Cup that you order at Mory's is still based on that 19th century concoction. So that's sort of the origin story of cups as something that have been a part of Mory's lore for a long time. Maybe what I'll do now is show you a few examples of really interesting early ones that we have. And I'm going to call on Carla Cruzoni, the general manager of Mory's, to help, since I only have so many hands here. But we've gotten out a few of the amazing ones to share with you. Yeah. So here's Carla.
Hi, Carla.
and here is a really amazing early cup. So you can see that this has 6 handles. It's a pewter kind of trophy. And this comes from the 1880s and is really one of the most interesting artifacts at Mory's. This was the cup that was used by the cup men, who were a group of students who were sort of created by Eddie Oakley. Eddie Oakley began as the assistant manager of Mory's when the Moriartys still ran Mory's in the 1880s. And he then took over, so he's the person between the Moriartys and Louis Linder, as in mentioned in the Whiffenpoof song, The Place Where Louis Dwells. Eddie Oakley is that person in between. And Eddie Oakley thought that it would be basically good for business to create a sort of drinking society based at Mory's called the Cup Men, full of sort of socially prominent Yale students. And so this 1880s cup has names engraved on it, and you probably can't see quite well enough their names, but I'll just mention a few of the undergrads who appear on there are Harry Payne Whitney, James Gamble Rogers, Cornelius Vanderbilt Jr. These are all people who were drinking out of this cup as college seniors, or juniors or seniors.
So hardly known names.
Exactly, very
obscure group. Yeah, that's so
very
cool.
obscure.
Awesome.
But it is amazing that history feels very distant. But on the other hand, it isn't very distant. They were probably drinking it off of this, this ledge, this fireplace. That cup probably sat on that fireplace in the 1880s because this was actually moved from the older premises of Mory's into this building in 1912 when Mory's moved. And there's a great photo. You can see this exact cup featuring in this picture. I don't know how well you can see that. It's labeled Louis and His Friends, 1911. And there in the middle of the table with Louis Linder and all of these Yale students is that cup.
That's awesome. That's
Pretty
very
amazing.
cool.
So speaking of Louis Linder, while we're talking about him, the next cup we want to show you is actually a cup that was presented to Louis Linder. Ta-da! And so I don't know how well we can see the engraving here, but maybe you can just make out his name. What it says is Louis Linder, Beefsteak Dinner, February 9th, 1912.
Beefsteak dinner.
Beefsteak dinner. Doesn't that sound fun? I want to go to a beefsteak dinner.
Yeah.
And
Let's bring back that tradition.
We're going to take a little walk because I'm going to show you a picture from that dinner that's hung up at Mory's. So the purpose of that dinner, it was actually a dinner hosted by Yale alumni in New York in 1912 to celebrate Louis Linder, who had become this iconic figure on the Yale campus over the last several decades. And at that time, Louis Linder had plans to close down Mory's. Mory's was once again in the first 50 years of its history, it's sort of imperiled time and time again. And Louis Linder plans to shut it down. And this dinner was in part a sort of alumni rallying cry saying, you can't do this. This is too important to the Yale we know. And it starts the movement that later that year in 1912 moves Mory's from a private institution into a membership association. That's why it is still the Mory's Association, and it's still a member club. That happens in 1912. And here is that beefsteak dinner. There's a picture of it on the walls here. And it took place at Rice and Weber's German restaurant in New York. And you can see in the middle there, Louis Linder, and there is that cup that was presented to him that night. So still here. Thanks, Louis.
We moved from 6 handles down to 3. Basie, are those significantly heavier than the modern day Mory's cups?
So the first cup I showed with the 6 handles is surprisingly heavy. Yeah. It is really heavy. The other ones are not tremendously heavy, but this guy with the 6 handles is very, very solid pewter.
Yeah, if you're the last person standing on that, tipping it back, I really wouldn't want to imagine that person after too many drinks. That seems like a very dangerous thing.
I would agree. I would agree. So in fact, that's a good segue, because the next cup that I'm going to show you is a little bit smaller, a little bit more modest. And this is, you can see that there. And in fact, this one is a little more easy to see. It says Mory's at the top there. Yeah. And it says 1849, which is not true. Mory's was not founded in 1849, but it was a myth that began to be propagated in the 1920s when this was issued. And then it says here 1928. And this was awarded to Thomas Albert Dwight Jones from the class of 1908 Sheffield Scientific School. And it says for conspicuous service to Yale. So the story behind this cup is that Tad Jones, as he was known, was the head coach of Yale football, and had apparently a very victorious 1927 fall season, retires after that season, and in early 1928, there's a celebratory dinner held for him right here at 306 York Street, celebrating his contributions to Yale football. And at that dinner, he is presented with this lovely little cup for his conspicuous service to Yale. And that starts a tradition from 1928 to the present day of people being awarded the Mory's Cup for conspicuous service to Yale. And so the cup goes from this 19th century kind of rowdy collegiate artifact of drinking to going back to its trophy purpose, celebrating people who have made, who have served Yale in really important ways over time. And as I said, that's a tradition that continues. And it's interesting that it actually predates the Yale Medal, which is the highest award of the Yale Alumni Association, by several decades. The Yale Medal, I think, doesn't come into existence until the early 1950s, and the Mory's Cup predates the Depression even. So most recently, in 2019, the Mory's Cup was awarded posthumously to Elga Wasserman in 2019, marking the 50th anniversary of coeducation in Yale College. And that was only the second time that it had been awarded posthumously.
So I love that you call it an artifact of drinking. I think that's a very dignified way to put it, especially, we failed to mention at the very beginning that Basie and I had originally planned to do this during Feb Club, which is obviously an extremely popular time for Yalies to gather in a very social manner, and there have been a lot of Mory's Cups involved over the years. But right now, obviously, we're on the heels of commencement, which would have included probably a lot of Mory's Cups, and we're actually getting ready to launch some virtual reunions this weekend. So I want to talk a little bit about the drinking artifact a little bit more, because there is so much curiosity about the cups and how to order them, when to order them, what's in them. I know we can't say too much, but I know Carla's there and can field some of these questions too. But if you guys want to just talk a little bit about how many cups there are and the circumstances under which they're ordered. We know that a lot of classes clubs and athletic teams, hi Carla, have their own cups. So let's just talk a little bit about the cup menu, if you would, for a minute there.
And I'm going to turn this over to Carla, who knows much more about that than I do.
Awesome. Thank you, Basie. Hi, Carla.
Hey, good to see you.
You too. So tell us about like the cup menu a little bit.
Sure. Traditionally, there are, I think it's almost 8. There is, and you order by color. So there's a gold cup, red cup, green cup, blue cup, velvet cup, and I think that's it.
Purple cup?
Purple cup also. And so each one is slightly different flavors. Some of them are familiar. The gold cup is sort of like the entry-level cup. It's kind of based on a mimosa, so it's not too threatening. The green cup is for higher, just another league of person with a green cup. So they all have different flavors, and you can order them. And your bartender will fill a cup with that mix, and it's generally sparkling wine, some kind of coloring agent, some kind of an alcohol, some kind of a fruit juice. So it's a punch.
And so, Carla, which one would you say in your experience, because you've been at Mory's a few years now, which one is the most popular cup typically?
Probably the gold, because it's the most universal. They have different, certain teams will order the green cup only. SOM likes to order, I think, the green and the gold. Certain cohorts there are probably the green and gold cohort, makes sense. But each group that orders it kind of has their favorite, sort of their tradition that they use. And each group uses it for a different reason. So we'll get, in pre-COVID times, obviously, the swim team would come in and they would use it as a way to initiate the freshmen, and we would give them a non-alcoholic cup. So all of the elements without the alcohol, because it was, and they would use it as kind of a getting to know you kind of thing. So instead of just passing it around and drinking it, whoever had the cup would talk about themselves. So it's kind of like an orientation kind of thing. And so groups would use it in those kind of different ways. Teams, different groups would use it to commemorate the beginning of the year, the end of the year. Everybody used it in a different way. Not everyone just came in and slammed.
I'm sure that happened a little bit from time to time, but I know the traditions run deep at Yale. So if anybody's watching right now and has a cup for their club or their sport, please feel free to drop your favorite one in the comments. We'd love to see it. Carla, I don't know how much you can say about this, but there is a rumor that we had to confront last time Basie and I talked about some other cups, maybe some off-menu cups. Is there anything that you can say about that, or shall that remain a mystery for now?
There is, I'll talk about it as a legend. So there's the legend of the black cup. And that it is so incredible that only permission can be given to have the cup given by the president of Mory's, the president of Yale, or the president of the United States. I have had to call the president of Mory's a couple of times to obtain permission. I've never had to call the president of the United States or the president of Yale.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you have them on speed dial somewhere if it was absolutely necessary. I love that. That's so much fun. I love the mystery of it all. I think it's great. And, Carla, we've had a couple of clubs that have told us that they have purchased their own cups so that they can have it in their hometown, so that when they want to have celebrations, they can take part in that Mory's tradition. So is that something that anybody can do? Tell us a little bit about how clubs are able to get a cup, or how teams are able to get a cup, and kind of how that process works.
When people have a cup, we can ship it to them, and we have done that generally every year around Feb Club. We'll ship 4 or 5 to the different alumni happenings around the country, around the world. Mm-hmm. I did ship out one this week for one. This week we got creative with a couple of classes. The medical school class of 92, this Friday, they're having their reunion, and we are actually going to, it's by Zoom, and we are actually going to Zoom in from Mory's, make a cup on camera for them, and then sing a song, and then we'll Zoom out, and then they'll continue with their reunion. So we found ways to get kind of creative with it this year, since we really didn't allow people to actually drink from the cups, which seemed to make sense from a public health standpoint this year.
Understandable.
So
actually, my favorite, not to interject, but to interject, my favorite adaptation that Carla and her team very creatively did was turning the cups into a sort of sippy cup, where you mix the ingredients in almost like a Capri Sun pouch kind of a thing, and with some ice in there, and it's zipped up with a straw, and so you get the same cup experience, but without the licking everyone else's mouth around the edges of the cup kind of part of it, which is
So that wasn't a bad idea. That seems like a pretty good thing moving forward. Who doesn't want a pouch of a Mory's cup? I love that. So Carla, if a club out there is watching right now, or a class for their reunion, can they order cups in the future, and how can they do that?
Yeah, we definitely prefer if it's a cup that they own, because people actually do own these. Mm-hmm. So if there's no problem, if they actually own a cup, we'll ship them their cup, no problem. And that's really the way we can do it, because we're kind of the stewards of everyone's cup here. It's almost like a locker. So as long as it's theirs, we'll be happy to do it.
How many do you have on site?
I think there's probably over 100. Some clubs elect to keep it on their own premises. Maybe they have their own clubhouse, or a member keeps it for them. So it's optional, but a lot like to keep it here because they like to be able to come and ask for it when they're back.
I love that. And I know so many people are looking forward to being back. Now, just tell everybody really quick, Carla, what do you guys have going on? You're open, you have a great patio in the back. Are you going to be there all summer?
We will be open through June 26th. We are going to close for a little bit of an extended time this year, just because there's going to be less activity than normal on campus. We'll be opening back up the last week in July, and by the third week in August, we'll be completely back to our complete normal hours, because most faculty, staff, everybody will be heading back in August, and we're really looking forward to a very hopeful, normal new year.
Yes, absolutely. I know. I can't wait to be back on campus. I'm going to put a request in now. Maybe if that legend is true, I'd really like to try that someday. So maybe we can work that out, the Black Cup. Basie and I, we can have another conversation.
Yes, please.
Yes, please, please, please. You guys, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure talking with both of you, learning more about the tradition of Mory's cups. Carla, this is, I think, our third time together. We did a really great cooking demo with Chef David Bray. You can see that on the Yale Alumni YouTube channel. Basie's history. There's a book on Mory's. We can't wait to be back and in person to celebrate with you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. Love you guys at Mory's. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.